Okay, so here we are describing that we are providing you with a generic server, right? That we have implemented for you, and we are describing how it behaves, how it works, right? So the server, what we mean by generic is that you can store anything you want, right? We're using it to store users, right? But you can store whatever you want: actors, movies, right? Products, whatever you want, right? As long as you tell it what it means to you, and also it can be used by anybody, right? As long as you identify yourself, right? Uniquely identify yourself, and it uses a standard, right? That is called RESTful Services, and that standard, it's more like a style, not a standard. It says that if you're going to create new data, you need to use an HTTP post. You send the server using HTTP post, and the data will be embedded inside of the body of the request, right? Whatever data you want to create. So it's a post. If instead you want to read something that is data that is already stored in the database and whatnot, you're going to use an HTTP GET. It makes sense. It's GET. It's a read operation. Yes. You can either ask for all the items that I have, or you can ask for an individual item. Okay, so notice that there are two gets here. Right? Notice that the first one says something 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 users, whereas the second one says something 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 users slash ID. Yes, right. So if you don't give me a particular identifier, I'm going to give you all of the instances as an array of objects. If instead you give me a unique identifier, I will return that one instance. Make sense? Right. Also notice that all these URLs, all these URL patterns, they have users in front of it at the end. You see that? Right. That's also part of the style. Right. You typically use some kind of noun, and you use the plural version of that noun. Right. And the meaning is that for you, that is the type of the entity or the type of object or the class of things that you are storing and retrieving. Right. In our case, are the noun that best describe the things that we are storing and retrieving is users. Yes, it's the noun user, but plural, users. That's part of the style. Make sense? So post users means I am creating a new instance in the users collection. Right? I am posting and creating a new instance. Get users, if you don't specify a unique identifier, I mean I want all the users. If instead it's users slash and then the ID of a particular user, then I would retrieve that one user. Okay. Then the last two, put and delete, right? The RESTful services says that if you want to modify something that already exists in the database, well, you need to tell me, you need to identify and tell me, well, which one is it as a unique identifier? That's why it says users and it ends with a primary key. It's users and it ends with a primary key, meaning which record do you want to update? You need to give me the unique identifier. And then in the body of the HTTP request, you need to provide me the new values, right? The new username, the new first name, the new last name, the new password, whatever it is that you're modifying, you need to tell me the new value, right? And what is it that you're modifying? And lastly is delete, is you're removing some record that already exists in the database. So you already know the primary key of whatever record you're removing, right? So you just need to tell me, you need to send me an HTTP delete, and then the ID of the record that you're removing. Make sense? All right, a couple other things here. Usually, all these URLs, these URL patterns are prepended with some acronym that reminds me that these are RESTful services, right? And then that's the way they're behaving, right? A very common prepend is to use slash API. Another very common one to use is slash REST. Another very common is slash data. Right? Meaning you are manipulating data. These URLs don't map to any HTML or CSS or any static content. Instead, they are mapping to dynamic data. Make sense? Right? The server is not provide. Usually, we're using up to this point. We've been using the server only for retrieving HTML documents, right? CSS documents, JavaScript documents, right? This is from the server's point of view. All this is static ASCII files. Yes, from the server's point of view. Now, instead, we're using these URLs, but retrieving creating, updating, deleting dynamic data, right? That we're manipulating, and we're going to learn how to do that a little later. Okay, all right, we'll do that a little later. So to be able to distinguish between am I interacting with static ASCII files, or am I interacting with dynamic data? That's why we would put the /API in front of it, right? Or /data or /REST, right? So to remember, wait a minute, we're manipulating dynamic data, not static ASCII files. Okay? All right. All right. So let's play around with this RESTful API. I already have a couple of data just to show you how it works. Let me show you.